So after 6 years as showrunner, Steve Moffat is quitting Doctor Who. Can't I can't say it's early. I can't say it's late because
Uh,
Russell T Davies went for 5 years.
yeah.
So this is even though it's kind of monumental really because different showrunners go for several years through
hmm
several doctors. So Moffat had both. Um, I guess
Uh,
technically three doctors, including John Hurt,
yeah. If you want to
even though it
count
was
that
only the
off, yeah.
hmm. Well, according to several articles from the BBC, firstly, we will not get season 10, which will be Moffat's last season.
Yeah, that's what the interesting thing
Until
is.
we won't get it until next year.
Yeah,
This year, we're just getting a Christmas special.
yeah.
And replacing Stephen Moffat, he is going to be Chris Chibnall, if I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the creator of ITV's Broadchurch, which
Yeah,
just happens to star David Tennant.
yeah. Though he has worked on Doctor Who, though we'll get to that a bit later on.
Yeah, pretty much. But speaking of going to talk about Stephen Moffat's work, I actually like his work, and as showrunner, he actually brought a more darker tone.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, for me, I had a feeling because there's been inklings about how long, because there was been news reporting whether Peter, for instance, would want to do another series or not. So I'd be interested to see if he stays on after Stephen. And
Yeah,
the other thing I'm curious about, because again, it's like I had a feeling that he said before, whenever a series is done, he takes it sort of year by year. So he sort of goes like, I'll do a year, see how it goes, and then if it's done well, then I might come back to do another one. So I guess it's kind of the case of I'll go out more or less kind of when I'm still enjoying the show, but there is going to be a point where I have to leave before it becomes like, oh god, I got to write another series, do I?
yeah. Well, not to mention, he's been working on other projects at the same time.
Yeah,
And
he said
what,
it's ironic that I've just announced that I'm leaving Doctor Who. Yeah, I'm just starting on series 10 at this point.
well, you got to do something. I think as showrunner announcing he's um going going to quit is a lot more reasonable than saying, "Oh, this actor is going to leave the show." It's like, "Oh, thank you. I'm expecting this character to die or be a tearful goodbye."
hmm
But as his work, I actually enjoy the majority of his works. Even though I don't particularly like Girl in the Fireplace, even though that was really well written.
Yeah, well, that one tends to be one of the higher rating. Well, it's either that or Blink tends to be like the ones that everybody says, "Oh, that's a Moffat classic" for most people.
Yeah, I do. I prefer the Empty Child
Okay,
two-parter.
all right, the Empty Child and the Adopted Dancers. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a good two-parter.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, proved. Well, that's the thing. Ironically, he was the first person to prove that you can make a good two-parter after the two shit ones that started off the first year.
I don't think Aliens of London was that bad.
No, no, but you get the idea. It's a whole story. Just Slovene. Just I could go on for hours talking about why
Yeah,
this
and
shit. But
his in series 5 when he becomes showrunner
yeah,
was kind of a middle ground with it can be serious like the episode Amy's Choice. That was a really good episode,
Hmm.
and then again you have pretty much shit ones. Which one was it? Oh yeah, Vampires in Venice.
Yeah. Which was well, again, the whole joke is they're not vampires, but
Yeah, but fish people.
people. Yeah, it's just it's one of those weird
And
things.
as and to change everything, just flip a fucking switch. Fuck you.
Yeah, I know. Just say that. Wow, that's a climax, isn't it?
Yeah, and then in series 6, it's like the Doctor dies in the first episode. Is it real? No, we have to wait for the entire season to go through. Oh, by the way, we're going to split the season in half. So we have
Yeah,
part
that was
1 and part 2.
yeah, that was more of a case of making sure the audience aren't going to drift off halfway through. But that happened a while back anyway.
Well, it happened for 2 seasons. And even
Yeah,
then, series. I keep saying season, even though it's just called series.
yeah,
Series
yeah.
7 did the same thing, but it felt like here's the add-on ending to Series 6, and here's the
Was it?
beginning of a Series 8, but not really a Series 8.
But really, it was the end of the pond, the beginning of Clara. Really, I would say that's the difference, really, with that series.
Yeah, but it's still like two different animals, and that's why I don't like mid-season breaks.
Yeah, but hey, it is funny looking back on it because obviously nearer the time we'll probably do a much bigger in-depth thing, but really looking back at his time on Doctor Who so far, it's very interesting looking back because again, considering that he was the number one choice after Russell T Davies, because pretty much that was the big deal, was if somebody's going to take over, it has to be someone who does enjoy Doctor Who and has proven they can do great work. And pretty much he was always the number one golden child whenever it came to an episode he wrote. So for him to be the head man was a big deal. And I always had this feeling, I will say this, I've always had this feeling that when he became the boss, I always had the feeling that, well, from here on in, A, he's going to do stuff that not everyone's going to enjoy, and B, while he's often been credited as, oh, he's the best writer, not every one of his episodes are going to be critically loved. I always had that in the back of my head. Didn't mean I didn't mean by all saying that he's bad. I just always had the feeling it's not going to be that great.
The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly. But even then, let's be fair, even Moffat's worse, there's always still redeeming stuff. In fact, arguably, I would say it's only now, like after the last Christmas special, I would say that's probably his worst episode in some areas. But then again, there's the last 10 minutes of it have redeeming features in it. So, but that's a whole different story I could talk about. It's ironic looking back on it because I remember a guy, I'm not joking, I remember seeing somebody with a t-shirt saying, "In Moffat we trust." Like, that was such a big fucking deal. I'm thinking, oh, that better not be they better not rip that shirt off in vain or anything soon. But again, it's, I do have the feeling that there's going to be a point where he'll leave, and when he does, it's definitely going to change the show, because that's what happens when the showrunner leaves, is that the show does change, even if the actor stays in the role. I know it happened with Tom Baker. I mean, Tom Baker's the prime example. You look at his era, you can tell that the different people who were in charge of the show, they got different feels to it. So it'll be interesting if Peter does stay after Stephen leaves, how the show will turn out.
Well, pretty much, yeah. But a showrunner and writer is pretty different things. I would be surprised if Stephen Moffat will stay on as an occasional writer, saying, "I have an idea for an episode. You can use it. Just please do something good with it."
Yeah, well, I don't know. Here's the thing that's worth mentioning actually, because this happened when the show came back on. Russell T Davies, of course, was executive producer and head writer of the series, and therefore every idea that was into the show had to come from him. Now that doesn't mean he wrote all of them. They basically said, "I have this idea. The Doctor does this, or they go back in time, or they go in the future." So we have the idea, but other writers would be allocated to work on those episodes. And of course, they could add their own touches and they can come up with hey, I've got this idea for kind of a creepy monster thing, and they can do what they want. So that's how it works. And to say with Stephen Moffat, all the ideas from that series comes from him, basically. Though how they end up, that's down to the writers and obviously how it's filmed and edited and all that stuff. But again, it's funny you say that because, again, it's stuff like, I think Russell T Davies people have always asked, would you ever go work on Doctor Who? And he said, no, I've had my time, I'd just be a ghost running around the halls, really, saying I was once brilliant. It's like, I'd rather just leave it to the new boys and just be some old fart walking around.
Pretty much. It basically gives, and with Chris Chibnall, at least he has some experience on the show. He has written episodes like 42, which wasn't really that good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the only thing, is the new showrunner, again, he has worked on Doctor Who, though I looked at his episode list, and I felt like, oh god, half of them I don't even like. I did think about that.
And and also on top of that, he has written the Torchwood as well, which is a Doctor Who spin-off.
He was kind of the main guy behind the first two series of Torchwood, really.
The only two that matter, really, because there's no fucking way I'm watching Children of Earth again. It was good, but honestly, it's so good I just can't watch it again.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, the first two series of Torchwood is, it's not god-awful, but like I said, if you base it on that and what he might do to Doctor Who, again, we don't know. The ironic thing is that his own show, Broadchurch, has been a huge success, which proves that, he can do a good show. So it's nothing. There's no doubt about that. The question is, can he do that same level to Doctor Who? And Doctor Who's a different animal. Of course, Broadchurch is a realistic sort of drama show, whereas Doctor Who is a drama show, but they're very different animals in terms of how they do the content.
More like a family Doctor show with sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's funny when people say. In fact, a couple of things I should mention is, like you said, since Series 10's not happening, So you'll be able to, for instance, because Dan hasn't actually watched Series 9. So there's a lot that's happened in Series 9, which I'll be interested if gets all wrapped up by the end. And I was
Hmm.
actually talking to a guy called Steve Ince, who's worked with Charles Cecil's of Broken Sword fame. And I chatted with him once and I said, what did you think of the last series? And he said, I thought that was the strongest series. I thought they had the best amount of good episodes in it. Not everyone was brilliant, but I generally thought, as a whole run, I thought that was the best so far.
Well, like you said, I've yet to watch it because I'm in the US and my cable package does not have BBC America.
Yeah, but like I said, you got a year to at least catch up, so it won't be that difficult to really see what happens. I'm saying this in terms of because there's some things that have happened in it that I feel will need to be resolved before Moffat leaves. Because that's kind of how Russell T Davies did. When he finished his run, he sort of did Journey's End, which was sort of let's sort of wrap up all the main side characters, and then End of Time was just a final note into the whole Time War saga he started off anyway. So it was kind of I'm finish that off, get it done, and then whatever Moffat wants to do, it's his thing, pretty much from then. And it's the same thing here. When Moffat's done, it's going to be, okay, Chris, you go off and do your own thing. But I will say this as a last note is, I mean, there's been lots of talk. Stephen Moffat has said for ages, saying stuff like, it's not impossible for the Doctor to be a woman. So I wouldn't put it past him. If he does end Doctor Who and Peter leaves, they'll end it with him turning into a woman and basically say, okay, finish Doctor Who. You do with it, Chris. It's your job now.
Well, hopefully the Christmas special is a good wrap-up of his side stories.
No, I'm just saying, just to really put it in, it's like, okay, now you're in charge of the Doctor here, and now you got a woman Doctor. Deal with that, mate.
That'll be that soon, but hey, we can hope. I mean, Series 8 did give us a female Time Lord.
Yeah.
And there has been female Time Lords in the past.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So just to really finish it off, Stephen decides, I'll make the Doctor a woman, but I'll leave it to the new guy to sort that out.
Hooray!